Breaking Bad is considered one of the greatest shows of all time. When Better Call Saul first came out, fans were worried. They asked themselves, is this show gonna live up to the hype? Will it even touch Breaking Bad? And as time went on, people started falling in love with this brilliant show, and some fans even argue that it's better than Breaking Bad. Even though we get to witness some of the same characters from Breaking Bad and it's in the same universe, the shows are completely different. And I asked Patrick Fabian his thoughts.
I think you're spot on. It's like a great closet of wardrobe, and we're a shirt over here, and they're a shirt over there. It is in the same universe, but they're different. They're different pieces of clothing, and you also can't keep in mind that they had 7 years to make Breaking Bad, and so by the time they went on doing Better Call Saul, they really had two things going for them. One, Breaking Bad was such a success; there was nobody overlooking anybody's shoulder for Vince and Peter to create what they wanted to with Saul. And that included, to your point, maybe a little less action and crime and a little more interior work on like Saul and Kim. I mean, let's face it, Saul is I hate to use the word, it is paced differently. It's a little slower than Breaking Bad. It just is, especially in the beginning seasons. It rewards viewers for being really patient and to be really observant. But Vince and Peter knew their audience at this point because Breaking Bad also wasn't the kind of show that would do a lot of repetition to catch you up if you hadn't seen what's going on. They made you pay attention. They taught the audience to pay attention to everything that was going on because nothing was wasted. And I think having that 800-pound gorilla of the success of Breaking Bad, when we started off with Saul, both the creators and the audience alike were a bit like, "What's going on?
Yeah.
Are you going to tarnish Breaking Bad?" And some people immediately sort of like, they're like, "Oh, this isn't Breaking Bad," and they sort of walked away from it. But I think the wave of the fans stuck with it in the early years. Word got back out to those who maybe said, "I don't like it," to revisit it. And by the time they revisited it and caught up with it, I think things really steamroll in those final two seasons. And to your point, with El Camino, really satisfyingly helped sew up the world as created by those guys, and that's a rare thing to be able to do in television. I was just excited to be poured into those beautiful suits and have them shoot me like a movie star. Are you kidding me? I would
Yeah.
see those frames when we go. Well, one of the great things is that for the premieres, we always go to a movie theater and they put it up on the big screen, and that's when I really could see what the DP was doing. All of a sudden you're like, "Oh, they're painting this for the big screen. It's incredible." And the fact that you're in a quick funny story. So Ray Seahorn comes to me one time. This is early on in the first season, and she comes up to me and she says, "Now, Patrick, I'm not accusing you of being the kind of actor who's going to wait for the close-up to turn it on. However," she told the accusing me, she said, "I just did a scene where they framed it out in a master shot, and I was like this big in it with my back turned. They shot it like 10 times, and they said, 'Got it, moving on.'" And it was a reminder of you always think myopically, the show's about Howard and his face. It's not, it's about the totality of it. And Vince and the DP and Peter and those directors, they knew that. And so when I would see the finished product, I would be like, "Oh, wow. First of all, there's a whole lot of crime in this show that I had no idea about. What are we doing on the desert?" And then the second thing was the art of what they were painting and how they were painting it. It was just a privilege to be in the picture.
For sure. And yeah, like I said, the show did a great job of not living in Breaking Bad shadow. Actually, I have a friend right here who wants to say hello. Look at this guy. I got
Uh-oh, who's
I got a Walter White. I don't know if you know what these are. They're called bear bricks.
I
They're
don't that no.
they're, they're awesome, these things. I know I collected it. I'm like, you know what? Perfect to show you for the interview. But
Oh my God, that's
but
great.
Better Call Saul reminded me of The Sopranos, which is my favorite show of all time when it came to the pacing. Even though there's crime in this show, at its core, Better Call Saul is a drama that's well layered. And if I had to give my thoughts on the whole Breaking Bad versus Better Call Saul debate, I'd probably say that I rooted for Saul more than Walt. Kim Wexler was also more likable than Skyler White. But more importantly, we got to see the backstory of some of the characters from Breaking Bad, like Saul, obviously, Mike, Gus, and Hector, who can actually walk and talk. He was a badass. Rest in peace to Mark Margolis. And on top of that, we got to witness new characters like the crazy Lalo or Nacho, who was the one who put Hector in the wheelchair, and of course, Howard Hamlin, who was purely misunderstood and ultimately a tragic character. You gotta give credit to Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould. I mean, I had no idea there was this much going on before Breaking Bad. It blows my mind.
No, I mean, like Vince and Peter. I mean, talk about that writers' room because they just finished Breaking Bad, and now they're just like, oh, we're going to roll the dice on this and see what's what. But those writers, I'm not, speaking out of school. They've talked about this a lot of times. They didn't have anything plotted out. They didn't know. As a matter of fact, Nacho's a great example. So at one point, they're talking about what's going on, and they're just like, well, we have to have a character named Ignacio. And the writers are like, well, do we? And they're like, yes, because we named him. It's Saul's first entrance, right? Ignacio, not me, it's Ignacio. And you're like, oh, so who is he? So then the writers sit there and go like, who is Ignacio? Who's Lalo? What is this?
Yep.
And then from there, they start going. And that's what I think the audience resonates with. The writers are so deliberate about not just sort of making something up because it fits. They make it up because it actually does fit, and it gives, people ask me if they've seen none of them, which order they should watch them. And I think you're supposed to watch Breaking Bad first. And the reason is because if you watch Breaking Bad first, the enjoyment of Saul is so much more because you have foreknowledge. I mean, what other show can you watch where you know Gus's fate, Mike's fate, right?
Yep.
And yet, when you're watching it, and you also kind of know Saul's fate from Breaking Bad. Also, who's this Kim Wexler? Where's she? What's she doing? Right? And so you keep waiting for things to happen to them. And I mean, talk about brilliant, being able to get you interested in watching something where you know the outcome, and yet you keep thinking, is there an off ramp? Is there a world where Jimmy and Kim move to Santa Fe and have a couple of kids and get away from all this? And so it's a slow motion car crash that you can't take your eyes off of.
Yeah, it's so funny you brought that up because when I was watching, I forgot I think it was season 5. I forgot what season it was. But when Gus and Lalo have their whole interaction, when Gus kills Lalo, right?
Yeah.
But there's a point when Gus gets shot. I remember, right? And even then, I was on my toes, and I was like, "Wait, what?" I'm like, but it's like I already know his fate doesn't happen there, and I'm like, but still, I was on my toes. I'm like, no, I'm like, I was like, my girlfriend and I were watching the show together. I'm like, no, like, there's no way. And she's like, I don't know what's going on right now. Why did he get shot? Like, what's gonna happen? And then it just that's how they get you, right? So I don't know. It was great.